on, Dolphins fans? It's your boy Dillon. I don't got a whole lot for you today, except for obviously it's Coordinator Thursday, so I got all the press conferences for you. But aside from that, practice-wise and injury report-wise and stuff, KD and Devontae Parker are still both in red non-contact jerseys. Obviously, Danny Amendola did not practice today. Gase said he didn't expect Amendola or Swanson to really practice until Friday. Danny did not practice. Swanson, I think, did, if I recall. He's got an ankle injury, and he's trying to fight through it and practice and stuff. Amendola's got a knee injury, but he did not practice today. So there's that. We'll have to wait and see on Friday how he does. Obviously, I let y'all know that we elevated Isaiah Ford from the practice squad and then signed Francis Owusu to the practice squad. So, shuffling receivers and stuff like that. So we'll see how that plays out for our game against Buffalo this Sunday. But that's all I got for you guys. So I'm going to send you off to these interviews. I hope you guys enjoy my show. I hope you guys enjoy the content and stuff that I got for you. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell if you want the alerts. Hit the like button as well. I appreciate that. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And, of course, also follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, guys, I am out. I will see y'all soon. Phins up.
Okay. Hitting the ice.
They used to be good.
That's true. So what do you think of the return game, obviously moving past Jakeem last week, how your guys did with the opportunities they had?
Yeah, obviously they ended up kicking a bunch of touchbacks on us, and then we had that, the kickoff from the 50 at the end that they kicked a high short one on us. And, Sonoris obviously had the opportunity on that one. We had Drake back on the others. Certainly I thought Sonoris did a good job on that particular play. That's a tough one when the ball lands. When it's a short kick and the ball lands on the field, obviously you can't get a touchback in that situation. But, we've had a number of good guys back there that had the experience. Obviously, we had a couple different guys back on punt last week, both with Danny and Kenny. And so, as I've been saying all along, I think it's good to have a number of guys that can do it. And so, we're in that situation again this week. We've been repping a bunch of guys out there at practice, and kind of the more the better. The more the merrier for me. Just really kind of continue to evaluate that. And, it's unfortunate loss with Jakeem. I mean, obviously we'd love to have him back there, but it's good to have other guys on the roster with experience. So.
With Kenny and the return game or your other options, how much is it your comfort level in terms of that guy's experience that you're looking for in punt return?
Yeah, that's always a big factor. Experience is a huge factor. I mean, no different than when Jakeem first got here, right? Jakeem didn't have a bunch of punt return experience when he first, came here, and that's one of those things where you can get a bunch in practice, and you can try to simulate a jugs machine, but there's really hard to simulate live action with gunners coming at you and live ball, and the ball comes off the punter's foot, definitely different than a jugs machine. So. Experience definitely helps. Now, a guy like Kenny has been doing it, his whole life, since he was a little kid in high school and college, and so that's always a positive. And but certainly the more experience, the better there. No different than with Danny Amendola or Kenny or those guys. Some guys have more kick return experience than punt, and it's a completely different game. And so I would totally agree that the experience factor is definitely a positive.
In a week like this, where you've basically got to try out guys, do you make sure that they're getting the real kicks instead of a jugs machine?
Yeah, so for example, the way we practice, everybody's different, but the way we practice, Wednesday and Thursday are the days that Matt Hawk is kind of live foot, if you will. But you got to remember he's lefty, and we're playing a right-footed punter this week, so we actually it's a completely different, believe it or not, it's a completely different ball that comes off the foot, the rotation and all that. So we have a jugs that goes lefty and righty to get the different rotations. So they got live work off of Matt, but then also have to get simulated work with a right ball rotation there, and so you try to get as much as you can. And certainly the last couple of days, those guys have gotten live ball reps. Tomorrow they'll get some more, off the jugs, and we'll just get as many as we can. That's really the way we do it.
This is the type of year where they have coaching candidates come up. What's sort of your thought on special teams coaches and their chances to become head coaches?
Yeah, obviously you look at the history of the league, and there hasn't been a ton of guys that have gone from special teams coordinator to head coach. Obviously, the one that everybody talks about is John Harbaugh, and you really look at the job and the resume that he's put together. He's won a Super Bowl. It's a difficult thing for a special teams coach to go from. It takes a lot of faith in a front office and an owner because you're stepping outside the box a little bit. Now, my feeling on it is special teams coaches may be as well prepared as anybody to run a football team. You're the only guy in the building that's really dealing with the entire football team. You're coaching everybody. You're dealing with situations, the game management, those types of things. So I think there's a lot of qualified special teams coaches right now in the league that would be terrific head coaches. And I think John Harbaugh is, again, a great example of a guy that that did it and has done it and has put together a tremendous resume. He's one of the best game managers in football. You look at the history of a lot of the guys, a lot of coaching history of some of the guys that are head coaches right now. A guy like Bill Belichick was a special teams coordinator, and I could sit here and list a bunch of different guys that have a special teams coordinator on their resume. Again, it's just a little bit of it's not the norm, if you will. And sometimes you get in a situation where, there's a lot of times where, guys want to win the press conference, if you will, and maybe get the sexiest name out there is maybe a play caller or something like that. But a lot of times when you kind of dive into it, a special teams coach could be the best option. And so obviously I'm a little bit biased towards it. I believe that a lot of my counterparts in the league are very qualified to do it and would be terrific head coaches.
Sitting here in front of one special teams coach, what do you feel like your readiness or desire to be a head coach is at this point?
My readiness? Well, I've been a head coach. Obviously, I've been fortunate to be a head coach in college, and it was a great experience. Certainly if that opportunity presents itself, down the road and when the season's over, you're always things you're going to look at. But obviously, my biggest concern right now is Buffalo and finishing out the season strong, and then you worry about opportunities, after the season. But it's something that I certainly look, as I look forward in my personal career, it's something I want to do again, and down the road and be a head coach again. I had a great experience doing it. I love doing it, and I think with the role I have here on this football team is preparing me to be a head coach because I deal with, obviously, like I said, I deal with the players every day. I deal with the game management part of the game. I'm very fortunate that Adam gives me that role, and it's really helping my, my personal resume, if you will, in terms of, learning on the job and. Dealing with the management, the game management, the time management, all that stuff is really preparing me. So I think when the opportunity presents itself, I'll be very, very well, prepared and be ready to go.
Darren, if I might ask, any colleges reach out to you in the past year about being a head coach?
Oh, Barry, I don't want to go down that road. I'm gonna pass on that one if for right now. But we could talk about that after the season. But I think right now during the season, I'm just going to really concentrate on our schedule and on Buffalo. But I appreciate the question. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want to start throwing things out.
So that's a yes.
I'm going to pass on the question.
Well, we were all thinking it, but you said it. Right.
Darren, Chris Lamons, the rookie you guys signed on the practice squad. What are some things you like about him? I know during the last preseason game he got a kickoff of fails. In that game, what are some things that he brings to the table for you guys?
Yeah, you know what? The truth is I had my first conversation with Chris today. I know him as a player a little bit. We played him in the preseason with Atlanta. I know he's bounced around between Atlanta and New Orleans. Watching him here the last couple of days, I like his athleticism. I've watched him, play on our scout teams in all four phases. He's a local guy from Plantation. I know his high school coach, Steve Davis, real well from Plantation High School. I've known him for a long time, and so just in my short dealings with him so far, really, really good kid, and I like what I see. But it's just been a small sample size. All I've dealt with him so far is based off of film and watching him play. And I can remember him flashing as both a defensive back and a special teams player. And so I'm happy to have him here and continue to work with him. I always love to gather as many of those guys as we can in the practice squad that have potential to maybe help us down the road on special teams. And we can sit here and go and list many, many guys over my 10 years that have, that was their way in the building. And next thing you know, the next year or whatever, now all of a sudden they find themselves in a role for, as a special teams guy. So I think Chris is a great example of that. As a guy that potentially, could help us down the road because I really like his athleticism. Seems like a very bright kid and good personality and ready to go. And so far, so good.
Thank you.
I'm a Clyde guy.
You don't sound like it.
I am. I'm Coach Clyde's biggest fan until it comes to him and I competing against throwing off the throw off.
Yeah, my mind's not yeah. You ain't want me over here.
All right.
Del, to what extent will Adam encourage you to suggest particular play calls? And does he want it ever before the play, or does he say, if you have something that you see, tell me, well in advance?
Most time what it goes on is as after a series, as an offensive staff, we have a game plan going in, and after a series, sometimes you're in a great rhythm as a play caller, and sometimes there's a conversation about, hey, what do you guys think about this? Or, hey, do you guys like this? Or they're playing more of this coverage. You guys think we should get to that? There's definitely those conversations throughout a game with coach and the whole offensive staff.
With Kenny Stills, he's been quiet for lack of targets, non-productive for the past 5 weeks. What is the rhyme or reason behind that?
It sounds like before I came in here he wasn't that quiet, but no, Kenny's asked to do a job. He fulfills a role for us. As a receiver, you can't control where the ball goes, and as a quarterback, the coverage dictates it. So sometimes the ball goes his way. There's a lot of pass routes that he's designed to get. That he's number one, the progression, obviously, and that sometimes it goes that way, sometimes it doesn't.
But he's the only healthy receiver you guys have, only healthy starting receiver, and he's still not involved that much.
We have 3 starting healthy receivers most time. From the start of the season?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, Parker's back. He was a starter to begin with, and Stills, it goes back to other people know that as well. Teams know where Stills is, and, that's sometimes the coverage is going to take the ball there, sometimes it's not.
So Laramie Tunsil has played well this year. How has Jawan James done?
I think Laramie Tunsil's played very well. Been extremely impressed with him. As good a left tackle as I've ever been around. And Jawan's been solid. There's obviously things that each one of them need to improve on. We're not where we need to be yet as an offense, and they're not. They still have room to grow, both of them. So does Jawan, but he's been a solid player for us.
Best left tackle you ever played. That's pretty high praise.
I say that as good as.
Yeah, as good as.
As good as.
Yeah, who else would be in that class?
Joe Thomas, Michael Ruse. Like that, Laramie's had a really good year, and there's things that he needs to improve on.
I guess a pretty big jump from where he was last year.
I can only speak on this year, and watching the tape last year, I thought there were some things that he did really well. There's obviously, as a young player, there were some things he needed to get out of his game. We're still working hard to eliminate some penalties and consistency with technique, but he's a really good player, and we expect him to keep getting better.
All these plays, red zone plays during training camp for Mike Gesicki, it has not translated during the season. Why?
That's such a broad question. It's a valid question. There's things that we put in the game plan. Tried to throw a fade against Tennessee. Didn't execute it well. The quarterback didn't execute it well. He didn't execute it well. And there's things that each week that are up. They just haven't got to it. We probably need to get in the red area some more. And, we're not doing as well as we need to in the red area. We lack a lot there. We need to be better with execution. And, Mike's always part of the thought process. And sometimes the ball, sometimes we get the plays called for him, and, we just haven't lately. And it's not, sometimes it's based on coverage. Sometimes it's based on the matchup. Is it trying to get the ball to Kenyon more, or, trying to run the ball more, a wildcat package more. But Mike's still a thought process there, and we need to do a better job of getting him the ball down there.
With Kenyon Drake, obviously you guys have figured out the right way, or maybe people disagree with that, in terms of how you utilize him. But how now does the shoulder injury impact that, or amount of carries or touches, or how you use him?
Yeah, it's like every other player. What he can tolerate, we're going to give him. He played really well last week and made plays for us, and he needs to, we've talked about it in here, step up and make some plays with some guys that have gone down. He's a guy that can get the ball in the end zone for us. He scored twice last week, and the open field stuff, he's explosive, and as long as he can go, as long as he be out there, he's a competitor. He'll play through stuff, and at this point of the year, everyone's banged up and everyone's sore, and if he can go, we're gonna give him the ball.
Where's Isaac Asiata in his development?
Right now he's on all the show team stuff and scout team stuff, and we've been pleased with his effort in getting better. He's not obviously in the starting lineup right now, and the injuries. You have to keep developing your young players, and you have to develop young linemen specifically, and he's done a nice job doing everything we've asked him to do at this point. And if things continue to happen the way they are, then at some point he may get a chance to play.
He's seen more advance in run blocking in preseason.
Sure.
Is he Isaac Asiata is
Yes.
more advanced in run blocking in preseason? Is that part of his game NFL ready as opposed to pass protection?
It's hard for me to speak on that. I think it's, for the most part, young players do better run blocking than they do pass blocking in the NFL in an early age. But he's done a good job in the show team stuff. And sometimes until you actually get to see something with your own eyes, and for me, like, to get him out there and actually go into real competition on a Sunday, it's hard for me to predict what it's going to be. But I would say to this point, his strength is run blocking over pass pro.
And with Isaiah Ford, Al, what skill is there that makes you think he could be, an NFL receiver?
He's crafty. He's got some. He's an aware guy. He's intelligent. I think that's his biggest asset. He's the guy that's always in the right spot. He does things the right way. There's been some injuries and stuff, and he hadn't got called up yet, and now there's a chance. Obviously he gets some opportunity to play, and he just worked his tail off and done everything the right way. And he's an impressive kid that way, and really good demeanor. But I would really say the savviness, and that's a strength of his.
Thank you.
Seen other times where it appears to be maybe a step slow, which please tell us if that's unfair. But have there been instances where maybe either speed or instincts haven't been quite what you want? And I know he's young, obviously, and that's a factor.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. Honestly, you're going to probably think I'm crazy here, and sometimes he's too fast in a reactionary sense. Like, sometimes he reacts to things too quick, and I think he gets himself out of position sometimes. Like, I spend a lot of time, I feel like, talking to Raekwon about just slowing down. Like, he sees one thing and he's gone, so sometimes he overreacts to play action passes, or even in the run game, he sees a run break and he starts going 100 miles an hour to go get there, and then when it cuts back, he's kind of overruns things and those sort of things. So I actually a lot of times try to tell him not necessarily obviously slow down in terms of a running factor, but just slow down in his reads a little bit and give him that half a step to, like, in diagnosing and things like that. I mean, he was actually he was very proud the other day. I know you guys saw the whatever night that the Houston game was on, and Miller broke that 97-yard run, and he was talking about how he caught him in the one in our game. So he was very proud of himself for that. So. No, I don't, again, some of the stuff that he's a rookie, I treat him as such. He probably doesn't like that, but I think with him, just some of the things he just hasn't seen, as he's building that database of plays and things that he's seeing more and more, situations that he maybe hasn't been put into before. As he builds that experience under his belt, I think he's getting better and better. His production's gone up for us from a tackle standpoint the last month or so. So I think he's trending in the right direction, and I don't think his physical ability is going to hold him back from doing the things we're going to ask him to do.
Some players, when they don't have things go their way, like Raekwon, could get a little down on themselves. He seems very, very uber confident about himself.
Yeah.
And himself. How much does it help?
Yeah, obviously, he wants to get better, and I think he's just taking it. He's very coachable, so I think everything, even if he makes a mistake or something happens, it's and you get in his ear about it, and Frank's with him all the time. Just he takes it as a learning experience. It's not like, oh man, I can't do this. It's like, okay, hey, that's how you respond to this situation or this play or whatever it is. And I don't know what his numbers are. He's had a decent amount of production for us, and we have about, Kiko's got a bunch of tackles. There's about 4 or 5 other guys that have, grouped in a bunch of tackles together between TJ and Raekwon and Bake and Mink and all those guys. So I mean, he's had some production for us. I don't see any reason to be discouraged about him. I don't think he feels that way either.
Now with the third 9 scramble play, what happened with Luck and breaking contain?
At the end of the game last week? Yeah, I mean, we had him in the grasp. He got out. I don't know what happened. Yeah, we were in his zone coverage, and we kind of bluffed out into his zone coverage, and we had it matched up. Obviously, we caused him to hold the ball for a little bit. He didn't have his first read. He pulled it down. We had a chance to obviously get him on the ground in the sack situation. Just sometimes when you're in zone coverage and the play gets extended or a quarterback gets out of the pocket to some extent, like trying to find the matchups. Now at that point it becomes you have to match up a guy in your zone, right? You're in a zone, you're trying to hold your area, but now once the play breaks down and the routes are now converting into other things, everyone has to try to grab on, and sometimes it's just the guy kind of slipped out in his zone. We had two guys in the same zone, and as luck broke out, the one guy kind of drifted behind the backside there. So, obviously that play, you're playing a coverage, you're just designing. We accomplished what we wanted with the call. We got him to hold it. He didn't have his first look. The rush had a chance to get there. We got to finish that and get him on the ground. Once it starts becoming a broken play, now there's a little bit of chaos trying to match up, and find the bodies in your zone. And we had two guys in one zone, so we grabbed one of them, and the other guy kind of leaked back through, and we weren't able to latch onto him. So, it's frustrating, obviously, but we have to get him down when we have a chance to get him down. I mean, he's obviously they've had a lot of success protecting the quarterback, and when you had chances to put him on the ground, we got to take advantage of him. We did a pretty good job rushing him most of the game and got after him a little bit, but we had to finish that play there.
Branch told him, sorry, Branch told us that he's been held all year and never gets involved.
Yeah, Branch, he's a colorful man. Is there? Yeah, I don't know. Probably, you get frustrated. Again, obviously, we put a lot in our front and having those guys rush and I think probably there's a little bit of frustration from maybe just from the production totals from a sack point of view, setting in a little bit, and everyone gets held. I'm sure he's been held a bunch, but that's part of the game. Is no use complaining about it. Everyone gets held, and it can get frustrating for him. Again, I know he's been working hard. Branchy's been doing everything we ask him to do. I thought he's rushed a lot better this year than maybe even last year. He's been very productive in terms of just performing as a rusher. Just hasn't had the finishing thing. So I'm sure there's a little frustration with that. But I try not to spend a lot of time worrying about penalty calls.
If I told you that you would have 18 sacks at this point in the season, your response would be what?
I don't know. I wouldn't have a response. Again, I don't try not to get hung up on like that stuff. Every statistic's situational. There's probably a lot of stats I'd like to look different right now than they do. So,
that's a unit where you've got a lot of accomplished players, a lot of salaries, and you're built.
Salary. I don't pay salaries. Yeah, we're built for that. Again, I think, and I'm not, trying to make excuses. Those guys get a lot of attention, I think probably one of the most underrated injuries for us this year has been Will Hayes. Having such an effective interior pass rusher, to take some of that attention off the edge. A lot of our pass rush is on the edge, and they're getting chipped. Cam gets chipped every play. It's just like we just kind of account for it now and have to try to build in stuff to help him deal with those things. So. Again, I try not to get caught in sack totals. If you probably interviewed Chris Kasurek, he probably gets more frustrated about that than I do. For us, the pass rush is about affecting the passer, affecting the play. We feel like if teams are focusing attention on chipping guys and keeping guys in to protect, then that's cutting down on players that are out in the route and those sort of things. So try to look at it as just more how it affects the game as worried about focusing on straight sack totals. So those guys have been effective. I really do, especially in the last probably 3-4 weeks. Production's gone up. Obviously, Cam had one last week and Robert had one that was taken away with the penalty, and then Robert had a couple sacks against Green Bay and Cam had a couple sacks the week before against New York. So that production started to show, a little bit. So that's been positive, but I think they've all been affecting the passing game kind of the way we need them to. So we just got to keep going that way with it.
So you mentioned the last couple of weeks with a couple of guys. Robert Quinn for the season, from the beginning. Meeting expectations, has to do better to meet expectations. Where is he at?
Yeah, I think he's about what we expected. I think probably I think he started out pretty hot and kind of hit a little dull. Kind of got, they all get banged up. I think. I've noticed just a difference in him physically in the last probably 3 weeks, kind of the bye week, obviously, and even the week before that, just kind of coming back. I think he's been kind of healthier the last 3 weeks or so. So I see him just kind of moving around lately, like he was earlier in the season. So I mean that's been encouraging. Like I said, the production's been coming. He had the one taken away. I mean, he should have had about 4 or 5 sacks in the last. He had whatever. He's had 3.5 sacks in the last couple of weeks, I think, or something like that. I don't know. And he had one taken away last week. So I think he was a little slowed down, kind of the middle part of the season. And I think he's kind of coming back to where we want him to be, moving around. So I'm excited to see him kind of move forward this next 4 or 5 weeks, so we can get him going. He's a guy that's always gotten sacks in bunches. He's always gotten sacks where he gets on a roll and he gets 3 a game, he gets 2 the next game, gets 3 a game, and you look up in your numbers and you go, man, he had a great season. I mean, he's always been that guy. He gets shut out for 3 weeks and all of a sudden he goes on a tear and he's unstoppable. So, again, hoping that we're facing down that as we get towards the end of the season here, because I think physically he looks like he's getting back to where he was and moving the way and bending the way he was early in the year. So he's a guy that's capable of wrecking a game at any moment. So we're hoping that maybe this is the week for it.
Matt, a 2-part question regarding takeaways. Your numbers are up.
Okay,
What do you
good.
attribute that to? Does it go back to maybe a philosophy you instilled in the summer, or whatever brought that about? And secondly, I wanted to ask you about Howard and his ability to get not just opportunities at interceptions, but to get those to translate to actual interceptions, and not just balls that fly off his fingertips.
Yeah, you got to catch the ones that come to you. It's the start. Overall, it's been obviously something we didn't do a great job of last year. The turnovers and getting our hands on balls. So we've obviously been emphasizing it. And again, for us, it just starts with getting to the ball, like population of the ball. Like we want hats around the ball, and good things happen. When that occurs. And we had the forced fumble last week where Bacon, Raekwon, a nice vice tackle and physical, and then the ball pops out and TJ's there getting to the ball to recover it. And we had another one on the ground on Cam's sack that we didn't get to. We had a chance to kind of squirt it out. So. But we just, again, you can talk about whether it's randomness or anything else, but for us, the more people we get to the ball, the more times we're attacking it. If the ball's in the air, we have more chances to get on it. If the ball's on the ground, we got more guys around to do it, all those sort of things. So I think it's a philosophy part of just getting to the ball and, having 11 guys around the ball at all times and everyone turning and running, and good things are going to happen when you do that. So, I mean, just from a philosophical standpoint, I think that's probably as close as you can get. I mean, again, they don't throw us the ball. I don't throw us the ball to some extent, So, X, he's been putting himself in a good spot. I mean, the final part of getting turnovers is catching the ball when it's thrown to you. He made 2 pretty nice catches. I mean, he's got good ball skills. I don't think that's unusual for him, but it was cool for me to see with those. He was different techniques. We were in man on the first one. The second one, he was kind of overlapping in his zone. Something we worked a little bit on during the week, so it was kind of cool for me to see him get those 2 with 2 different techniques, 2 different calls, you know what I mean, and execute them both. So, he's got good ball skills. So when he is in position, when he does play good technique, and when he puts himself in a good position, and the ball's thrown, he's got a pretty good chance to come down with it because he's got pretty good hands and pretty good ball skills. So, I wouldn't say it's the finishing part with him as much as getting in the right spot and playing the right technique. So if he's there and the ball comes his way, he's got a pretty good shot to finish that play usually.
Matt Adam earlier this week said kind of felt it was a shitty feeling knowing that you could have had the Colts game, you could have had the Bengals game, and the record would be if you had those 2 games. For you, how do you feel about those 2 games and the results from them?
Shitty? Is that? Yeah, I mean. There's a lot of what ifs, I mean, you can't play that game. Yeah, obviously, most recently, I mean, Cincinnati feels like a long time ago. It was a disappointing loss. You have a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. You feel like you should win that game, and the way it went down, and we had opportunities. I'll speak for our side of the ball, to make some of those plays, and I mean, it's crazy. We went through the film on Monday, and it's just talk about, hey, our margin for error is not very big on all those things, and. Obviously, everyone sees the last play on the 3rd and 9, but the drive before that, we had about 2 or 3 opportunities to end a drive. And it's one guy's in a technique that's just a little bit off or takes a bad angle and, stuff like that. So that's obviously frustrating and it is disappointing. Felt like we had a pretty good game plan and that was a pretty hot offense coming into things, and guys played hard and got after it, and there's good energy and accomplished a lot of good things. So it was kind of frustrating to feel like, man, we had a good thing going and let it slip away. But I mean, man, I'll have time for that after the season. We got another game coming up here in 3 days, and we got to move on to Buffalo, and we'll feel worse if we don't get this one done. So it's frustrating, obviously, from a big picture standpoint, but usually kind of in the moment and in season, you don't have time to reflect too much. You come in Monday and you feel like crap, and you'll watch the tape and figure out what happened and fix it and move on and try to get the next one. So that's where we're at.
I want to ask you about, you guys have had success against rookie quarterbacks. Obviously, they're all in your division.
Yeah,
pretty
played
much.
a lot of them.
Is the key, I don't want to get into game plan, but
Okay.
with rookie quarterbacks, is it about showing them something early and then switching it on them, or just making them think overall?
It depends, I think. They're all different, obviously. Not just rookies. Every quarterback has different strengths and weakness skill sets. But yeah, obviously with rookies, you try to. Just like our rookies, like we just talked about Raekwon earlier, like stuff he hasn't seen or just gone through it, and it's a new experience for him, a new, visual thing that he hasn't done or matched up or whatever. So yeah, same thing with rookie quarterbacks. I think you try to maybe give them some stuff that you haven't shown, or give them different looks, or yeah, try to switch the picture on them at the last minute. Obviously, in our division, you got a guy like Brady. It's kind of hard to do some stuff with, you change the picture. He sees it.
If you switch the picture on Brady?
Well, it depends. Every now and then maybe you get him, but usually he goes, oh, okay, that's what you're doing, and or it takes him one time and he sees it, and then he registers it for the next time you try to do that. So, again, yeah, there's part of that element of trying to just show them different things, whether it's different things that we've shown before in the past, now it's a different twist to it, or just disguise one thing and move last minute and try to just slow that clock down. Josh has he's got a big arm, and he can make all the throws. So if you let him sit back there and get comfortable, he can drive the ball. He's pretty impressive from a physical standpoint, and then obviously getting outside the pocket. So, and it ties in with some of the questions, about our rush, trying to, sometimes with the coverage elements and disguising those sort of things, you're trying to just make him hold it for that half a second extra long, or half a second longer to try to get that rush there. If he has a clear picture and can pipe it in there, obviously he can make some throws, but now all of a sudden he's not sure about it, and then he has to pull it down, and now he gets some pressure there and those sort of things. So, in general, that's kind of obviously what you try to do with anybody, but you try to test a rookie quarterback out and see kind of where his capacity is for reading coverages and reading defenses and reading pressures and kind of see how he can handle that. So we'll try to do the same this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got nothing today?
It's coordinator day.
Sounds like a camper.
Right, exactly.
What kind of progress have you seen from Nick O'Leary the past couple of weeks? His numbers maybe a bit down from earlier on?
I think we've just been using some different personnel groups. We've been playing all those guys. We're heavier two tight end package last week, but we were playing all three of those guys. He keeps doing a good job in the run game. He's been open in the pass game, just ball hasn't gone to him. So he's done a really good job. His blocking's really been strong for us. Helped us in the run game a lot. Pass protection, same thing. But if we ever throw him the ball, he's reliable.
Not that you would tell us, but you notice any pep in his step this week facing the team that gave up on him?
I haven't noticed any change in him since the day he got here. That's like.
Adam, what is it about Dolphins and Bills that brings out a little extra? No, there was a fight at the end of last year.
Yeah, I don't know if that was just seemed like that one incident. It was just a goal line and everybody was a mosh pit. Probably some trash talking and then just late hit just kind of started the whole thing up. Just got carried away.
Well, I know the Bills, after that hit on Aaron Williams, were pretty hot as well. Is there something about these two teams or no?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I mean, you might want to ask some of the players about it.
What has Danny Amendola meant to the team?
I think he's been extremely, reliable in third down situations. He's done a great job, on the field as far as, practice habits, what he does on game day, the intensity he brings. Like, he's almost in a different world on game day. The way that he carries himself, whether in the locker room and meetings, on the practice field. I mean, it's ideal. It's what you want every player. You want every player to operate like that. And I know Danny's gone through different things in his career to where, he's had ups and downs, and that's probably part of the reason why that's how he's become who he is right now. And when you're a veteran player, that's what happens. You see a lot of things, and you might adjust the way you do things. And I know the way that he prepares his body to get ready for a game, he feels like that's changed over the last few years that have helped him a lot.
What would it do to your offense if Kenny has to play that slot spot?
Well, I mean, going into the game, if that's more the case, us knowing going into the game, that helps us because now we can tailor really what we're doing to him. And that does change a little bit from, him and Danny they're different players.
How often do you have players that can play all three spots or know all three spots as a receiver?
There's probably usually one or probably two guys max that know all the spots, and be able to do them. Like if you go from outside to inside and be good at it, it's hard to find guys that are built that way.
So Devontae Parker came to the team with a lot of hopes and potential. You've had him for 3 years. Why, outside of one game at Houston, has he not been able to be that guy more consistently?
I think the injuries have hurt him, and that's probably about as obvious as anybody in this room will. Everybody knows that. I think anytime you miss practice time, that hurts. The hardest thing for me is just in my time, there have been some really good games where he's done a lot of stuff that's, we're looking at, hey, this is graded out really well, and it might not be a game where he has a ton of catches, ton of yards, and he's doing things right, the ball's just not going to him. To me, it's just all about consistency, being able to be out there, availability. I mean, that's really the number one thing in this league. If you can be a guy out there 16 games and you're doing the right stuff, usually you're going to be productive. And I mean, the physical traits are there. I like the way he's been going the last couple weeks. I think we could have had some other opportunities for him last week. We just didn't get it to him.
When the season started, you said that you can expect us to keep 3 quarterbacks throughout the season. You guys have been true to that. You had a hell of a lot of injuries. I mean, had there been a time where you thought maybe this isn't a luxury we can't afford? And if not,
I don't look at a luxury because, I mean, that's what we're going to do. We're going to, if we find guys we like, we're going to keep trying to develop them and spend as much time with those guys as we can. I mean, it's the last 3 years we've lost quarterbacks. So, I mean, we just got to keep finding guys that we like and try to develop them. And, this year it's just, we've been I shouldn't say lucky, but when we've had injuries, we've been able to replace those guys. It hasn't been somebody like sitting around that, we have like an extra guy just that we're not be able to get up, I don't know how to explain it. It's just kind of worked out to where it hasn't been really a discussion or a worry.
Why has David been good enough to stay on that 53 throughout the season?
Well, I mean, to me, I like David's anticipation. I like the way his brain works, the way he sees things. I like the way what he does in practice, what we see every day. It's just, I like the way that he just keeps coming along. He just keeps working.
I want to ask you about the pass rushing. You guys have 18 sacks this season. I know you value pressures just as much as you value sacks. But this team is built to rush the passer. You've got a lot of resources put into that position. How come it's not as more effective than it could be?
I think it has been. That's why we have all these interceptions, because the quarterbacks are throwing the ball a lot earlier than they want to. And we're getting turnovers because of it. So the quarterbacks, instead of getting sacked, they're rushing their throws, and we're picking the ball off. So it's working for us. You know, we've had opportunity for more sacks. We just got to finish the play. But I do think that pass rush forces quarterbacks to panic a little bit and get rid of the ball sooner than they want.
What, if anything, did you have you said to Gesicki since the turnover?
Nothing. I mean, he knows that's one of those things that can't happen for, you know, especially with the amount of time we spent on ball security. I mean, I think that's might be the second fumble we've had by a non-quarterback. You know, so, you know, he's got to be able to catch that, take that hit, and we got to be able to keep moving on that drive. I mean, that was a big drive in the game.
In general, what would you like to see from him over the last 5 games, and then also going into a second season?
I'm not going to go to the second season yet because I'm worried about this week, you know. But, I mean, I just want him to carry over what he's doing in practice. We're seeing a lot of good stuff on his releases. We're seeing him make a lot of good plays in practice. You know, he's got to build on that, carry it over to the game, execute it the same way he does out here, and just take it 1 week at a time, just keep getting better every week.
With Raekwon, what are some things that you're seeing he's doing really well, and some areas you think he...
Just the more he sees, the easier it is for him to react fast and go make plays. You know, there's so many things in the NFL that offenses do now that you have to be prepared for a lot of things, and he's got the mind for it. You know, you can see he'll see it once, and then the next time he has it, he'll trigger a little bit faster and make a play. So, I mean, he's just got to keep at it as far as studying the game, reacting. You know, he'll get to the point at some point of his career where he won't need to see it one time to react. He'll just go do it. He'll understand, you know, the rules inside and out to where it's like he doesn't only know his spot, he knows everybody else's. He knows where everybody's going to be. And sometimes what happens when the game's moving fast and guys are in different places, and you don't always know where everybody's at. And that's why that continuity on defense is so important on that second level, to where those guys are always on the same page. They trust each other, and they can do their jobs.
I want to ask you about the holding call on Andre Branch that wasn't called. Is that a play that you turn into the league? And if so, exactly what happens?
Well,
I'm just trying to get a technical.
I mean, there's nothing we can do about it now.
Yeah.
So that's all I got for you.
But would you, what happens when you do turn in certain plays to the league?
They tell you what they think it should have been, and that's it. They can either say, yeah, we think we missed it, or, hey, this is why it wasn't called, or this is why it was called. I mean, doesn't do anything now.
So what do you think of that? I mean, like in NBA, is these last 2-minute reports, but the team gets screwed, if you will, can't do anything about it. I mean, is it?
We're heading down a bad path right now. Nothing. You can't do anything. You can be mad all you want. It's not going to change.
He said he was going to start flopping, and he was only half joking. Would you advise for that or against that?
I don't know if you're going to get calls on doing that. Like, could be a double whammy. You don't get a call, and the next thing you know, now it's even worse, because maybe he can run past you. You know, I think he's just got to stick with what he's doing and just keep making it hard on offensive linemen. Keep trying to disrupt the passer.
How did Charles Harris
play in his return?
I thought he did a good job. I mean, he played with great energy. He was playing fast. There's a lot of good things. He did a lot of the dirty work, you know, which is, you know, something that we've noticed, especially at practice. We're seeing him doing a lot of things in the run game that is, you know, looks really good. And, you know, he's been very reliable. You know, since he's been back, he seems stronger. He seems thicker. I know he spent a lot of time in the weight room when he was hurt because he couldn't do anything as far as, you know, running as much as he wanted to. So, you know, he was really excited to get back, and every game he's a high energy guy for us.
Back to Raekwon, considering you missed the time with the knee, has this play met your expectations this year?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to even remember what I was thinking, however long that was ago when we started. So I think he's done what, you know, we were hoping. The way he developed, it seems like we're heading in the right direction. And we just want to keep stepping him up and keep taking the lead and
him, Kiko, and Bake just keep playing together, keep learning how they're going to play together. And, you know, when we get in situations, those guys, we just need them to step up.
Just to clarify one thing on Edge, I thought this actually.
I thought you said you weren't asking any questions.
I know, but was AJ Derby down last week because of health? Did you want to see Durham, combination of the two?
It was a little bit of those other three guys are probably the healthiest guys we got on the team right now. And, you know, he was still, I mean, he's still, you know, he's not 100%. I mean, he's working as hard as he can to get there, and, you know, we'll see what we do this week. You know, I like all four of those guys. Every week's a tough decision. If they're all four healthy, that's a tough decision. You know, you almost want to figure out how do I get them all up, because they all can do something offensively. They all can do special teams stuff. I mean, there's a lot of value in that room.
All right, guys, you've reached the end of my video. This is the end of the interviews. I hope you enjoyed those. I hope you enjoyed my show. Also, as a whole, if you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you hit the like button. And please share your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. I love interacting with you guys. It's for you. This is for you. You know, and also follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. It's on the end screen. My Twitter handle is on the end screen if you need to know it. And with that, guys, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.